Hey guys, and welcome to one more episode of Builder Nation. For today's episode, we have Linnell, current CEO at Formant, innovative platform for robotics companies. So welcome, Jeff. Thank you so much for being here and for joining Builder Nation.
Hey there. Thanks for having me. I'm Jeff Linnell. I am based in San Francisco. I am the CEO and founder of Formant.io. We're based in San Francisco, but really virtually, just like every other progressive company in the world today. I am a cliche early stage founder, had my first company at 20, and I've had far too many to count at this point. Everything from design agencies, film studios, Internet 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and now a series of robotics companies. Yeah, I've never had a real job.
Wonder it's a real job, Jeff. What are you saying?
Absolutely. Yep.
I was going through the website and I noticed that you guys are working with RoboTire by powering their tire cleaning system. And I thought this was great. So if you can please share a little bit about it and how did this partnership start?
RoboTire is great. We've actually known them for quite some time. We shared a space in San Francisco about 3 years ago. The company has since moved on and they're doing quite well, got a bunch of pilots going. And they use us to monitor their robots, find out how things are going. They are a great example of the types of companies that we work with. They're doing something very specific, and every one of our customers is doing something very specific. And this is sort of what I love about the state of automation right now, is that people are finding these rifle shots that are automatable and they're attacking them. And so RoboTire actually pull your car into a tire changing bay, like Big O tires or something like that. And robots actually take the wheels off and change tires and put them back on. It's a relatively understood task. It's relatively dimensionally constrained. And it seems like they're having some great success with that. They're using industrial robots and with some custom tooling, and they monitor that operation through Formant. They're sort of an example of, like I said, a very specific task. We've got a lot of customers in agriculture, last mile delivery, inspection, floor cleaning, lawn mowing, underwater robots, flying robots, you name it. Anything that can be automated is being done by a startup or a large company. And we're working with all sorts of folks. To us, as a robotic data platform and observability platform and kind of issue resolution, all these robots, even though their morphology is very different, they have different tasks, they all look the same from a data perspective. They've got some cameras, they've got maybe an IMU on there, they've got LiDARs, and then they want to know their battery level, CPU, memory constraints, all sorts of stuff. The data is the same from all these machines, even though that the jobs that they're doing are radically different. We love it. It kind of keeps us like on our toes, and we get to meet all sorts of cool companies. We probably have a pretty unique perspective on the state of automation at the moment because of all the people we get to talk to.
What do you think has been the biggest challenge while getting partnerships or venture capital, all of that?
Had quite a few companies, and this is the first one, however, that is venture backed. That was new to me when I started. I certainly have had experience with M&A and things like that. And my last 2 companies were acquired by Google. So it's quite a process. And I spent a bunch of time inside of Google working in robotics. But then I got out and I started this. It was the first time that I raised venture capital. At the beginning, it was actually quite easy because robotics is super exciting. As you progress in your evolution as a company, the criteria changes. At the beginning, it's, hey, here's a relatively intelligent guy. Seems like he's got a reasonable perspective on robotics, and then here's a vision, and then raise some capital. Now it's, hey, what are the metrics? What's your ARR? What is the cost of acquisition of customers? And so we're at a very different stage now than we were when we started, and held to different metrics to get things over the line. So we've had quite a bit of success. We've got a great board. We've got a great bunch of investors. They've been incredibly supportive. We're pretty fortunate, and I would suggest that in this really challenging environment right now, where money is no longer as accessible as it was just 6 months ago, robotics remains one of the bright spots. So as companies start to, unfortunately, lay off staff and downsize, people are looking to automate everything that they can. So to some extent, there's a silver lining in this dark cloud of the fundraising environment right now for automation and robotics companies. We think we'll be good, and we think that most of our customers are going to get through this.
Talking about this and the future of the company and the future of the industry, I would like to ask you, what do you think is the future of robotics?
I think that everything that can be automatable is going to be automatable. And so that's just repetitive tasks. We all know that it's the dirty, dull, and dangerous things that robotics are good at, but it's also the mundane. It's things like digging ditches for foundations. It's mowing lawns. We've got companies that are doing very well finishing drywall. In robotics, the bigger opportunities tend to be relatively mundane and boring, but large scale and tractable. Robotics is hard. Let's start with the simple stuff that's big and can get done. I think that we've had maybe a misconception historically in that everybody's looking at the Jetsons or R2D2 or C3PO, and they want all these amazing capabilities of these machines, but it's the ones that are actually doing work that excite me. It's like a lawnmower. There's a lot of grass out there that needs maintenance, solar farms or hotels or campuses. And those are really amazing opportunities. We've got a lot of customers in agriculture, and I spent a fair amount of time out there, and it's a really brutal job for humans. I think that it's much more interesting to let those humans be in the truck or in a warehouse somewhere or at a facility. They could even be thousands of miles away, but watching those machines, helping those machines do their jobs. So I think we're going to see more of that. We're going to see human-backed robotics, remotely backed robotics. And so that's really what our company does. We allow you to connect to a robot in real time, get it out of a problem, see how it's doing, make some decisions for it. I think that's the future of automation, remotely operated automation equipment. And we're seeing quite a bit of that. And maybe I'll just double down on human-backed robotics is how this is really going to happen. We've got another decade or two of people being very, very much involved in autonomy, handling the edge cases. And so I think data platforms and connectivity are going to be at the center of that. I'm very proud to be helping all these startups with that infrastructure and connecting to those robots, because that's the way this thing really works. People have been dreaming about autonomous operations that just magically work for the last 30, 40 years, and there's not a whole lot of them out there. But human-backed automation robotics is how this thing actually gets some traction.
All the interviews that we have held at the podcast, we speak with different founders, CEOs in the industry, and most of them are really involved in the procurement process, especially through pandemic. That was a really rough time for our companies. So how was that process for you?
It's funny because I started my last company in 2008, which is when the market tanked, and we did very, very well. So I feel like somehow adversity can be, serendipitously a benefit. And so for my company, we found that, everybody couldn't come into the office anymore and sit around their robot and debug it. So everybody wanted to beam into the robot and look at the systems and collaborate online. All the engineers would be logging into their robots from their couch or whatever. And so it was sort of the start for us of actually letting people continue to progress for those 2-3 years. We became more valuable. And so it was exciting. Early at the beginning of the pandemic, people didn't realize that you could buy a platform like Formant and not have to build all that infrastructure. So there was a little bit of education, but once people figured out this was a way to actually continue to test and get things done with robots, we had some pretty good years there. We grew substantially. Now that everybody's back, there's been a sort of a turbocharge of people needing to get their robots out in the field and keep an eye on them. And so we've had a very good year last year as people came back to work. But pandemic was actually okay for us because we were a company that enabled online visualization of robotic data.
You mentioned engineers, right? So in your day-to-day, how close are you with this team?
Incredibly close. It's a challenge of a founder like me anyways. I'm a doer and I can't keep myself out of the product. I can't keep myself out of the engineering, maybe a little too much in there, to be honest. But as the CEO, my primary responsibility is to raise capital. And so I have to take that very seriously, but I care deeply about customer experience. I care deeply about the aesthetics of our UX. I care about the go-to-market strategy. I'm in the stand-ups daily. I dive into details, learn a lot about cloud infrastructure, which is not my background, but I've got a whole bunch of experts in scaled back-end systems. I think it'd be dangerous for me to remove myself too far from the actual technology. So as we grow, I amplify my team with more executives that can help us scale. I'm very much an early stage person. I love the 0 to 100 of a company. I've worked at very large companies and I hope this becomes a very large company, but it's so much fun in the beginning because you get to do so many things.
You've had the experience, you had the years.
I think with Formant, we've been at this for quite a while. We're a 6-year-old company. We were early when we started, but we had a whole lot that we needed to build to really satisfy people's data requirements generically. Eventually the market caught up and people figured out, hey, this is important. It wasn't easy. I kind of have selective memory. I forget that we've been working on this for years and years and years, but we're at a growth stage now and it gets fun. You meet new people every week, new engineers, new divisions are springing up, and it kind of re-energizes you.
And talking about the company, believe there are the next step. Are you guys planning on expanding or releasing any new projects?
I won't get into the roadmap, but we're expanding. We've got more and more international customers. We've always had a mix of startups and Fortune 50 companies, but we're starting to get really significant traction on the enterprise side. And so very large fleets of robots in the 20 to 40,000 machine range. And so really big scale, big opportunities. Things are fantastic. One of the challenges with, say, a company like this that's software-based, able to develop quickly, is picking what not to do, where not to go, because you can do everything. And I think it's important to focus and make sure that what you're doing, you've got right, and not try to get into every aspect of robotics, because probably there's a company that's already doing it that we should be partnering with instead of building it out. You can't be great at everything. So pick what you think you've got right and do it. So for us, that's data acquisition from a machine, data presentation, and some very straight workflows like teleoperation and mission review and things like that.
What could be an advice you could give to future entrepreneurs or CEO?
Do it, jump in, commit, don't stop. And I think with robotics specifically, so important to get that feedback cycle of putting the device out into the universe. As quickly as you can, start your field trials. Break your machine. Nothing is precious. Like, continue to revise and revise, go out and break some things. And I think that maybe that's, if you have that flexibility at a startup to break all sorts of things, you can break your robot, you can break your processes, you can try things. Because it's a lot harder when the company scales to make big moves. And so do it while you're starting out.
That was a great bit of advice. Do you have any social media handles? Where can people come by?
We're at Formant.io. You can check out what we're doing there, and please get in touch. We want to work with everybody that has a need to see what's going on with a robot, but we've got all sorts of tiers of the product, and we can help everybody from 2 people in a garage with an idea to an enterprise with thousands of robots. Care deeply about people. We enable everybody else to do something with a robot. So I'm excited about where automation is going, and it's just cool to be an accelerant to all these people.
And again, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today.